Hello and welcome back to Talkin' Giants, brought to you by SeatGeek. And guess what? The Giants lost again. 9 straight losses. They're 2-13. They have the worst record in the NFL over the last 3 years at 11-37. It's been more than 70 days since Shaun cried like a baby, and since the Giants last won a football game. And the crazy thing is I can't help but feel like it's the best thing for the team right now. Shaun, there is a reason why we have retired the phrase, "It can't get worse" on this show. We've retired that phrase since 2021 because it's only gotten worse since Brian Daboll and Shane Bowen have been fired. Here's the good news. The Giants are in control of their own destiny for the number 1 overall pick. The Raiders just lost to the Houston Texans after putting up quite a fight. Shaun Morash, Giants are in line to get the number 1 overall pick. They are in control of their own destiny. Isn't it nice to be in control of our own destiny for something for once?
It definitely is. And I don't know. I have that feeling where the famous Will Ferrell movie, I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hands with this Giant team right now, Justin. That's right. It was Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands right now as a Giant fan, Justin, because full disclosure, and I know we mentioned it here a couple weeks ago when heading into this stretch and we were talking about December, I know we were pretty big on the, hey, we know that this is best for the franchise, but also don't get your hopes up. You had hammered home. You thought they would win at least 2 of these games down the stretch.
I did. I was dumb.
Yeah, no, I did too. And now we're through the Washington game and the Minnesota game. And here we are approaching the Raider game. And the Raider game was the one. And I know we're going to preview it at the end of the week and all of that, where I thought no shot we win the game. Now I'm kind of sitting here tonight going, do we even have like a slight chance to win the game? So it's a really good position to be in, but also I don't know what to do with my hands because I shouldn't be aggravated and mad after a Giants loss at this stage when it's best for the franchise. But here we are, Justin, and I'm pretty freaking pissed off about the way that this game unfolded.
Yeah, man. I was there. It was cold.
Yeah,
it was windy.
You're the sucker for going in the cold weather,
dude. This is it, man. I'm giving up and I want to talk more about this. I actually want to write. I'm going to give away this idea if you're listening on this recap. You'll see that I do this. I do want to write. It's going to sound corny, but I think it's going to be. It sounds corny, but it's going to be cool. I am going to write a love letter to my regular season tickets because I've had them since 2009, 2010. I've been in there, been in the same seats since the stadium opened, and then I was in a different section, obviously, in the old stadium and then they reworked everything. So this is it. I'm going to enjoy it. But the crazy thing is I did not, I've enjoyed losses in the past today. I've just enjoyed going to the game. I flat out did not. I was sitting there being like, I regret this. And I have never, ever sat in that stadium and said, I regret being here. I regretted being there today. So I guess, we'll talk about the game for a little bit, and then there's plenty of other stuff that's outside of the game that I want to talk about, like Giants post-game comments about in-house media, why I think that's basically convinced me that Joe Schoen's going to be fired, and then even like Marcus Freeman. That's like the more important stuff to talk about. But Shaun, I guess let's talk about this game. My leading question that I have is, why did you even play Jaxson Dart today? What was the purpose of playing Jaxson Dart today? Because I don't think he was actually out on that football field.
Yeah. Okay. So this is exactly why I'm pissed off. Losing and winning, whatever you're rooting for a Giant fan, again, I'm not in the business of telling you what to root for. I don't even care at this point. But the reason that I could be okay with any Giant fan going, I want to see the team play well because they have the quarterback, right? You're not tanking for a quarterback now. At this point, you're tanking to trade with a team that needs a quarterback. But you're doing that because you think you have Jaxson Dart, and I'm excited for him as anybody. And we're just getting robbed of the idea of seeing Jaxson Dart grow as a quarterback now in December. What is this? What is this offense that they're rolling out? We saw breadcrumbs of it last week, Justin, versus Washington, and it really only got going when it felt like Jaxson Dart kind of just said, F it, I need to start doing things on my own, and took off with his legs and ran again. And then, of course, he got mired in drops a week ago. And then this game happened, and their refusal to seemingly throw the ball at all the first half made no sense. And okay, there were times Tyrone Tracy was chugging along, finding runs. I don't know if this was we can't have Brian Flores tee off after we now see that Dan Quinn was coaching his team up to hit Jaxson Dart hard because we have the cameras on with Hard Knocks. I don't know if it was that because Brian Flores will get after it, and Brian Flores' record versus rookie quarterbacks is astounding. But if that is the way you're going to treat it, if you're going to treat Jaxson Dart like you are scared to have him be Jaxson Dart, then you're exactly right. What experience is he learning from this? You could make the argument today, Justin, that this is the kind of game and this is the kind of game plan that does more harm than good in playing Jaxson Dart, because where is any confidence building this whatsoever? So you will walk away today if you did not watch this Giants game, and Justin, as he alluded to, was in the stands today, and I was on the couch. And I'm trying really, 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 really hard not to have Jaxson Dart blinders on when I say this. I really am, because I want to be open-minded. Did I think he was perfect today when he had the opportunities? No, of course not. But at the same time, I don't know how any red-blooded American football fan reads a stat line today that they will see with Jaxson Dart with the interception and that few amount of completions and that few amount of yards, and then looks at those stats and goes, oh yeah, Jaxson Dart definitely sucked today. Because I also don't think he sucked today. I think he basically didn't play today, and I don't think that's on Jaxson Dart. I think that's on whatever the hell Mike Kafka and Tim Kelly cooked up today, which was a hot piece of shit. Pardon my language.
To be so afraid of cover zero looks, and I don't even think they brought the zero blitz all that much. They did on the Harrison Smith hit to the head. They brought it. And that's an example of when Dart, even when they're lining up in zero, right? And when they're lining up like that, you got to throw hot. And it's either they're not setting him up for success and they're not giving him the hot route, or Jaxson Dart's just not throwing it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I think Mike Kafka is so rudimentary that he's not providing Jaxson Dart a hot route when you're playing Brian Flores, okay? So that's an example where I think it's on Jaxson Dart to get the ball out of your hands. If they're showing zero and they're bringing 7 or 8, and you have 6 blockers, right? You have 5 offensive linemen, then you have the running back that's definitely 100% staying in the block, especially on a third down. It's a numbers game, right? I thought the Giants blocked that beautifully for a cover zero blitz. Harrison Smith came on the front side, came on the right side. Everybody picked up who you're supposed to pick up. The ball's got to come out. That's just one example. I don't think outside of that play, I don't think they brought zero a bunch. I think they brought 5 a good amount. I think they tried to really bring pressure, but it was nothing overwhelming and overbearing. And of course, Doug Analytics talked about that they were backing out into cover 2. And I think the way that you want to beat the threat of showing cover 0 but dropping back into cover 2, getting rid of the ball quick, and even if it's I was very surprised at the lack of emphasis with screens, whether that be to running backs, to you have an athletic tight end in Theo Johnson. Would have loved to see him with an opportunity in space, and at least put those linebackers, safeties, whoever in conflict that are turning their heads and trying to run backwards the other way to get back into coverage after all being on the line. It was just very, very head scratching where the way that the Giants tried to beat the threat of cover 0 was by running the ball and going heavy out of 12 and 13 personnel, which is fine if you're willing to mix up what you do out of those formations. And there was just zero emphasis on trying to mix up what you do out of 12 and 13. I'm very curious to see if they had it felt like such a split of anytime they were under center, they're running. Anytime they're in straight up heavy, they're running. And then anytime they're in 11, they're throwing.
It felt like watching an offense in a preseason game where you're not out to show anything. That's exactly what it was. Here is the formation, here is the package, and we're going to basically run the same package of 5 plays within those base formations. That's exactly what this felt like today, and that's for August, man. That is not for December, when the whole purpose of playing out the string of these games is, put your best stuff on tape. What are you doing? Like you're right. So was it scared of the cover 0 blitzes? Is this 100%. all just, hey, we can't go back to ownership and have Jaxson Dart get a second concussion because we're afraid that they're going to knock the snot out of him? I mean, to me, that's the only thing I could come up with. It's troubling, Justin. It's troubling. And look, I mean, this is a story for another day, but if you were to tell any of us, and be honest, any single Giants fan, that this is the way the Giants were going to coach Jaxson Dart in December, man, it might have been unanimous at the time that everybody wanted Brian Daboll fired. It might be unanimous right now. If this was going to be the outcome, they should have just waited until the end of the year to do it, because at the very least, you knew Brian Daboll would do the best to get Jaxson Dart, some actual real life experience playing quarterback in December, because this ain't it.
Yeah, the games have been bad, like objectively bad from Jaxson Dart since Stable's been fired.
This is awful. This is the worst. Like, I made a video, whatever, Twitter, FAN after the game, Justin. But like, this is the worst I've seen an offensive coach on this team. And this has had like the Pat Shurmur head coach team, the Ben McAdoo. This is that bad. Like Mike Kafka right now is that bad. And I don't want to hear the excuse he's an interim head coach. He's still the offensive coordinator who was running an offense with this quarterback.
And it's the best. Excuse. It's the best version of an offensive line that they've had.
Yeah,
I don't care. What
obviously,
you think
it deteriorated as this game went on, but still, the damage was already done at that point.
I don't care what you think about the resources that they're giving out to Wando Robinson, former second-round pick. Darius Slayton's getting $16 million. At least the resources that they have invested in the skill position players is better than what we've seen in past years, like 2019 or even 2021, right? I don't know, man. And even play action, like, again, another thing to beat cover zero. And this is exactly what we talked about the Vikings doing with J.J. McCarthy and how J.J. McCarthy has been quote-unquote winning, how he won against the Cowboys. Let's get him out of the pocket. Let's get our athletic quarterback out of the pocket, throwing on the run. J.J. McCarthy had a rushing touchdown today, partially because getting the guy outside the pocket. None of that. And it's very strange to see such a lack of play action with Mike Kafka because that's what they spammed. They spammed it in 2022 to the point where we were like, you got to stop. Because they were at a point in 2022, I don't know if you remember this, where Saquon Barkley was bad for like the latter part of the year, but they were still spamming play action. It's like nobody is going to fall for this. So none of that. Like today would have been great to add a little bit more to Jaxson Dart's plate of under center play action, getting him out of the pocket. So then that's a way that you can beat those cover zero looks, and it just none of that. So I really thought it was not setting up for success. But maybe it's also partially Jaxson Dart pre-snap, not calling out protections. Maybe they are calling for these quick routes and these for the ball to get out of your hands quick, and he wasn't doing it. It's probably a combination of both because that's the game of football.
And he's allowed to make rookie mistakes, clearly. It was almost like we were waiting a year for him to make rookie mistakes because you're supposed to. But be real, Justin, as we sit here tonight doing this podcast and we're pinning a lot of this on Kafka, the coaching, is there any element or element? That's the wrong word. Is there a piece of you, a fraction of you that's worried about Jaxson Dart long-term as the quarterback of this team?
No, I need this. I need the season to end.
Okay. Because I'm with you, but I'm already starting to see a little bit of that on social media. You crowned him too early, this, that, the other. This feels like it's a game plan coaching thing right now.
And also the season's just over. Like the season's just over.
But even in over seasons, when you have a first round quarterback, you usually kind of see that will at the end. They're killing the will of the quarterback. I like that is hard to do, man.
He talked about it again after the game. I have never lost like this. And that is the fear is that we talk about the disease, guys getting infected by losing here. I do not want this guy. It's like him, Neighbors, Scattaboo, like those are the big three that I do not want them to show up to the building for work, show up to the building for preparing for a game, and be so like resolute in the fact that this is our destiny. Like this is just what happens here. This is just what happens in my NFL career. I like that he is coming in and saying, this isn't normal. We should not normalize this. We don't hear that enough.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I guess my last thought on this, because I know you have other stuff you wanted to get to, and this is not for us to turn 20 minutes into what the hell the coaching search is going to be for this team. But today was at least the other first time I sat down, Justin, and I wondered, maybe Jaxson Dart's not definitively good enough just to simply say, yeah, hire a defensive-minded head coach. We need a CEO type. Like, maybe the Giants do need to rethink this whole coaching search in terms of an innovative offensive mind is probably what this quarterback's going to need, because I mean, in this post-Dable era, him playing, it does not look the same. I think that's on coaching, and that part of me worries a little bit if this team doesn't hire the right offensive mind here moving forward. Yeah,
let's just use Mike Tomlin as an example, because that's the example that is enticing, sure, but also that is an example of I would be very afraid of what Jaxson Dart's future looks like with Mike Tomlin because of his inability to hire an offensive coordinator, right? Like you bring Mike Tomlin in here, and there's an offense coordinator that we feel really shaky about. A back brain fear that I do have about Dart is what Kafka and Dable did this year, and I think they did a good job of this, is they really tailored to the offense to Jaxson Dart. And that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Ravens did it with Lamar. The Cliff Kingsbury did it with Jaden Daniels. Like the best teams typically do this. And what they did specifically with Lamar is they have added more and more to his passing plate every single year. And I think that's the way to go. I do not want you bring in a CEO type head coach, whatever. You bring in a defensive head coach, whatever. I do not want this coordinator to come in and be like, we're going to run this offense my way. This is how I've run it. This is the system. And take it or leave it, Jaxson Dart. We're going to take away everything that you did positive in year one, a lot of Ole Miss concepts, a lot of different formations, a lot of shotgun in year one, which I still do. Again, I want more put on Jaxson Dart's plate, but you can't just rip the tablecloth right from underneath the plate and expect that plate just to sit there and all the food to sit there remained intact, right? Yep. It's got to happen progressively here. You like that example? And I didn't.
It's a great visual.
How do you like that?
Great visual.
I usually mess up that visual all the time. But you understand my point.
Yeah.
You cannot just wipe away everything that happened this year and the progress that I actually do think Dable and Kafka made in slowly integrating him to the NFL game. I thought they did a good job of acclimating him, but also keeping core concepts of what he did at Ole Miss and what he did well there, keeping that here. That is a worry of whatever coach that they bring in.
Yeah. I mean, that scares the hell out of me. So I'm just going to tell you right now, and we're going to go through a ton of these candidates and everything like this. Everyone is talking about Shula and Heffley and Minter. I'm eyes wide open on if the Bengals fire Zach Taylor or the Browns fire Kevin Stefanski, and you want to do that CEO type, do it with an offensive mind. I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from this Jaxson Dart, last kind of couple games slump here. And I wouldn't even call today a slump. I would call today non-existent. Justin sitting there, I watch every game with my dad who lives and dies by the Giants. He's the one who's put it in the blood of me and my sisters. And I could tell, when you're older, not that he's that old, but he's 65. He watches every game with me. Sat there and looked, he's like, why am I even doing this now?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot for him. And his point is he's never Mr. Team Tank or anything, but you wait all week even to watch the Giants, even when they suck. And it's like they didn't play football today. It's like they didn't even attempt to play football today. And that's something that just needs to look down from ownership. That can't exist here when you have a quarterback that should be exciting to fans, even in a lost year.
No, it's apathy. This is, I think, even more than this is why you cannot say, if you're listening to this, like, we're fans of this team, we're all fans, retire the phrase "it can't get worse" from your vocabulary, because how can it get worse from 2021? Somehow with Jaxson Dart, somehow with Andrew Thomas healthy for almost a full season, he's going down with the hamstring injury, probably going to miss the final 2 games. Somehow with a pass rusher getting 15 sacks and Abdul Carter somehow picking things up through 4 games, but still getting all these quick pressures. The list can go on. Cordell Flott being an awesome corner. Mm-hmm. The list can go on. Somehow, some way, it is even worse than what that year was in the QB sneak of that horrible offense and missing your starting quarterback in Daniel Jones for, what was that, half the season, or even a third of the season. So it can get worse. Shaun?
It can get worse.
I do want to talk about one thing, and then I do want to move on, since we're talking about kind of head coach and coaching. I do want to move on to Marcus Freeman, but first I want to talk to you about Shopify. This recap pod is brought to you by Shopify. Shopify is the best place to start and grow a business, which is why we partner with them here at John Boy Media. John Boy Media has relaunched our merch store on Shopify with our new /line site, and it was a dream. We brought the ideas, and Shopify brought the execution. As you're shopping our new launch, check out what Shopify can do for you. Life really is a touchdown when you have Shopify on your side. Shopify Sidekick, Shopify Magic, and the suite of AI tools are a total game changer. It's revolutionizing the way you can build and manage a business. You'll have your own AI assistant guiding you on everything. Directions, reports, editing images, content ideas. Shopify's got your next move covered. If you're ready to take that business idea from draft to reality, it's time to head over to shopify.com/giants. Shopify is the perfect partner for any business roster, so make sure that they're on yours today. Thank you to Shopify. All right, so self-admittedly, like a left hand up, who are we, the Commanders? I am not the biggest college football watcher. I do most of my college football watching after the season because, we're watching NFL draft prospects and things like that, and grinding that. So I wind up watching a lot of like the significant big games even after the season. Of course, like bowl games. I was all tapped in this weekend, ironically enough, even though a lot of the games were kind of doo-doo garbage. Do you have any strong feelings on Marcus Freeman? And in case you missed it, Mike Garafolo this morning, NFL Network, Garafolo's always been plugged into the Giants organization. The initial reports is that Marcus Freeman, if available, even regardless of his availability, Marcus Freeman is going to be heavily pursued by the New York Football Giants as a top head coaching candidate. At least at this point, he is emerging as the top candidate.
Okay. So for me, I do love college football. Me and my buddy's going to, every single week in and week out, can't get enough. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, so oftentimes I obviously like to troll at my brother-in-laws who are big Notre Dame fans. I think Marcus Freeman's a good head coach at the college level. I think that if you listen to him talk, listen to him speak, listen to him address the team, he can be very motivating. And I think that goes a long way. His background is very defensive. He's a former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame as well as Cincinnati before then. He's still very young. He's 39 years old. Now, my worries, though, with Marcus Freeman, I like the idea it's a little outside the box, right? It's not just like, hey, insert defensive coordinator from Green Bay Packers here. You're finding a guy who's a head coach at a major program with major media press when you're the head coach of Notre Dame. That comes with a ton of pressure and all of that. But, Justin, what's the staff going to look like? Whenever we're with Tiki and Tiki talks to me and Evan about this, that's always his biggest concern with a coach. What does your staff look like? Yep. When you're coming over from the college level, it is not as if Marcus Freeman has built up this array of coaches that are all available on the NFL level. You pluck a wide receivers coach here, becomes your offensive coordinator, something like that. And when you're very delicate with a young team and a young quarterback that you're trying to groom, you can name the head coach, but what the hell connections do they have to finding the right staff? And the last thing you want is a Joe Judge type of situation where you're forcing a Jason Garrett on him as a head coach. And that scares the crap out of me. So I would say that to say, would I be intrigued by Marcus Freeman as the CEO type head coach of the New York Giants? It's a little different. Okay, I could see it. But what the hell is that staff going to look like? Because he has not built enough NFL connections around to properly know that he has a good working relationship. And don't think that matters. Hey, I brought up the Joe Judge connection with Jason Garrett. How about the fact that Wink Martindale came highly recommended to Brian Dable, who was in the NFL and had no connection to him? And how the hell did that work out after another year? It left us scrambling and finding Shane Bowen. I want a guy that can get hired with the right connections to hire the right staff. The staff is almost as important as the head coach himself. And that scares the hell out of me with Marcus Freeman.
That's what John Harbaugh says. He's like, I'm like Moses. I'm only, I lean on my staff. I'm only as good as my staff. That's an awesome quote. What a football dude. Yeah. No, Jim Harbaugh said that.
Jim. Yes. By the way, could the parents, do we need to do the J's here? Could one be Bob, one be Greg, something like that?
Is there John? John? Who's the special teams coordinator at Seattle?
Oh, there's a third. I didn't even realize that. Seattle.
Yeah, there's like another special teams coordinator at Seattle. And it's a Harbaugh. Doesn't look like any of them, by the way. Yeah, man. That's a great point about the staff. It's probably one that I would eventually think of the more that I embrace Marcus Freeman. I just hate Notre Dame. Like, I've almost been canceled. And I'm serious when I say
join a conference.
I have almost been canceled because of my hate for Notre Dame. I think they are the most overrated college football program out there. I do not think they win big games. I think they falter under pressure, blah, 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 blah. I also hate the bowing out of a bowl game. I mean, I guess I'm not tuned enough into college football to know if that's like,
I hated it too, but they weren't the only school to do it. So it's hard for me just to kill and hate on Notre Dame for it. By the way, Jay Harbaugh was the name you were looking for. Jay.
Thank you. Thank you, chat. And thank you, Shaun. I thought the whole point of this new head coach was to possibly be more experienced and to not go in the college ranks.
Can I calm you down or comfort you? I still, and I know Garafolo is a good reporter, I have no doubts that there's some conversation probably happening with the Giants and Marcus Freeman. I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. my lean and my gut tells me, and I have no problem with everybody clipping this and showing me I'm wrong if he becomes the head coach of the Giants, that the Giants are being used here a little bit by Marcus Freeman. You are in a
Drive up his price.
Yeah, you're in a topsy-turvy world in college football where this was a year unlike any other, right? LSU fires Brian Kelly. Obviously, the whole situation with Lane Kiffin bolting from Ole Miss to go join LSU. Florida had an opening. Penn State had their opening. Then this whole mess happens at Michigan as well. Auburn had an opening. Like, you go on and on. These major, major programs. The whole college football world got flipped upside its head. And the NIL stuff that's going on right now and all that goes into it. Notre Dame has a stable young head coach in Marcus Freeman. Sure, Notre Dame's dealing with a little wrath right now with the whole join a conference, don't join a conference, the whole college football playoff, they were left out crap, all of that. There is no offseason like now for Marcus Freeman to flirt with an NFL team and have Notre Dame at this juncture, knowing any decent head coach is basically taking a job elsewhere. And not that anybody wouldn't leave a job and screw their school over to coach Notre Dame, but hear me out. Marcus Freeman wants to get paid more by Notre Dame. And now's the time to strike while the iron is hot. And that would be my lean, my gut, all of that tells me with this Giants opening. I'm sure there's probably interest in him joining the NFL, but man, it's just as equally good for him to flirt with the NFL, flirt with a big job like that, and have the rest of that Notre Dame money compiling in to give him a monster extension.
Yeah. MB Goblin and Rob, both good points in the chat. Go to Michigan. Even leverage that.
Yeah, again, Michigan's a power program, but am I leaving Notre Dame to go to Michigan?
I mean, and also, if you're Marcus Freeman too, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why are you going to leave Why are you going to leave the college ranks where you're a king to go to the Giants, who they've done nothing but fire everybody, especially their coaches?
The only thing would be if at 39 years old you feel like, you know what? I can't win a national championship at Notre Dame. This conference stuff is going to drive us nuts to the playoff. Although they're enacting that new rule next year, the only thing that makes sense is you just want the challenge of the NFL. And the hardest thing for these coaches and why they fail time and time again when they get to the NFL, they don't have quarterbacks. And that was the whole point of like the Giant job being alluring. So maybe if you find the right job in a big market where they already have the young quarterback, that's enticing to you, I guess. Ultimately, though, I do think this is a money ploy to use it to get Notre Dame to pay them more. Yeah,
which I would agree with that. And like, again, why would you want to leave?
Yeah.
Besides the challenge part and dude's a competitor, fine. But you're literally, when you are a success, especially now, like I feel like Notre Dame has like the sympathy of people where they're, the people are on Notre Dame's side. So like you're a king. You were a king when you were a college football coach that's successful, that can win 10, 11 games, 9, 10, 11 games every year. You're a king. Why would you leave that to come to a historically awful organization that ends careers? Ends careers.
Well,
don't tell that to Joe Judge, by the way. He's killing it. Joe Judge is killing it.
Assistant coach at Ole Miss.
No. You know what? Here's my theory as to why Joe Judge wasn't appointed as head coach. They needed him so bad for the offense. He needed to stay focused on the offense.
Now, they did crush Tulane. Let's see them as they advance now. Competition.
Hush. And you mentioned Joe Judge's staff, by the way.
Yeah.
That was a good staff. Brett Bielema was on that staff.
Okay. It was
Patrick Graham,
staff.
Obviously part of that staff as well.
Yeah.
Patrick Graham's still a defense coordinator in the NFL. Almost beat the Houston Texans today, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, but again, with that staff, he had Colombo, who hated him as the offensive line coach.
Garrett, that was the two things that you just mentioned were via the owner. So maybe if the owner actually allows the coach, even if he is from the college level, to choose the staff and to pick the staff, the two biggest flaws of Joe Judge's staff were the initial offensive line coach and then Jason Garrett. The rest of the staff was like decent, and players actually like kind of like low-key developed. I don't want to defend.
Dude,
This is not a defense of
I
Joe
can't
Judge
sit
podcast.
here a couple nights from Christmas rehashing whether Joe Judge put together a good staff or not. I might vomit if we do that. I can't.
No, I can't. We gotta correctly retell history on this show.
Yes, we do.
And the truth on this show is Joe Judge was the man. All right.
Joe Judge is playing playoff football, and that's the real headline.
He is.
Yeah.
You tell me that in 2020, we're all being like, hell yeah, he is. He is playing. He's playing playoff football. What do you mean?
Yeah. How many catches does Evan Engram have? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Kenny Galladay still bumping. Okay, Tony must be awesome.
Jesus.
Saw a couple Tony jerseys today. Made me laugh. All right, I guess before we could talk about the tank, I do want to talk about some more like player stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll move to the defensive side of the ball.
When do we get to special teams? Because there's something we got to talk about there.
And then we'll talk about Ben Sauls, the arrival of Ben Sauls. Ignore the initial kickoff. He was just nervous. Abdul Carter over the last 4 games has been pretty damn good when you look at the box score stats. 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, and 17 tackles. That's pretty good over the last 4 games, Sean Moresh. And I feel like the underrated play of today, obviously he had a sack. Definitely had a lot more quarterback hits. I think he also had a tackle for loss. Yes, he did have a tackle for loss today as well. I think the biggest play of the day, the only touchdown the Giants scored, I think was set up by Abdul Carter, because obviously you have the strip sack that Brian Burns had as an untouched pass rusher. Tyler Nubin picks up the ball, and it's touchdown Giants. But the Vikings, what they were trying to do there is they were trying to set up a screen, and Abdul Carter, instead of just going willy-nilly after the quarterback, is jumping up in the air, and he's kind of like covering, and he senses that the screen is kind of forming behind him, trying to jump up and get a pass deflection or even an interception himself. The quarterback knows that he can't throw the ball there because Carter's there, and it sets up the touchdown for the defense. So Abdul Carter, man, showing up.
Yeah, look, this was important. Obviously, when we talked about Dart, the whole beginning of this podcast, the other big part of this was the growth and seeing, that Abdul Carter, after putting in the work, which he should have been doing all year, but showing up and all that last week, he made plays. It was impressive. How could he stack back-to-back weeks? Well, he answered that bell, Justin, and then some. He was absolutely wreaking havoc. He was absolutely noticeable. He gets the payoff with the sack. You mentioned the touchdown. And then the only negative play he truly had was just lining up in the neutral zone on that play where Holland returned the pick and went all the way back. And then obviously he got called back on that. But I thought even within that, right after that, there was a very telling moment where Holland, who had the touchdown taken over the board, he comes over, and instead of being angry at a rookie and Abdul Carter lining up in the neutral zone, Javon Holland on the field, I'm glad the cameras caught this, went right up to him, hugged him from behind, slapped him on the helmet as if, hey, no problem, bro, I got you. And I thought, well, that might seem silly. That might be like, why are you even bringing that up, Sean? It tells me that the veterans in this room, or at least one in Javon Holland, after everything that Carter's gone through and being immature and this, that, the other thing, had no problem as a pick-me-up when he blatantly took points off the board on just what was just a little boneheaded mistake. And I think that's important for a guy who otherwise was playing otherworldly today and making plays, to know that your teammates, you're 1 of 11 on that defensive side of the ball. Your teammates have your back when you screw up, and then go make plays and make up for our screw-ups on the other end. And I thought all of that entailed to a pretty damn good Abdul Carter game. We have stacked back-to-back of these. Let's let that be a bright spot that continues these final 2 games, so that Abdul Carter hits the weight room, understands from his mistakes early in the year, and we really, really start to get cooking with him in 2026.
What, did he put a spin move on that center?
Yeah.
Rushing from the A-gap on that sack?
Dude, it was sick.
That's just sick.
It was sick. He looks like OC to me. Like, I know that's a giant bias comp, but he looks like OC Umenyiora to me.
Yeah. Anytime, like in future years, and this is what I'm really looking for, anytime you have a backup tackle or a backup center, or a backup anybody, like, just put this guy on that player and tell him to just have fun. And just beat him with quickness, beat him with your hands, beat him with bend. He will be an automatic backup offensive lineman nightmare, because I'm pretty sure the center for the Vikings went out.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly went out with a concussion,
and then that's where you saw the sack and some other good plays that he made on the A gap. And good for Charlie Bullen too. I'll say this, I know I said it can't get worse. Obviously it got worse after firing Ryan Dable. The defense hasn't. I don't know. Have they gotten better? At least some, like, they've unlocked Abdul Carter. That's what I would say.
Yeah, keep in mind, they still ultimately lost the game to Max Brosmer essentially today in that second half, where he kind of dog walked the Giant defense down the field on that one drive where he's hitting Justin Jefferson. But ultimately, you're right. If you had to say, since all these firings, Charlie Bullen's been a better defensive coordinator than Mike Kafka has been simultaneously running the offense and being a head coach. Yeah. And he has, look, you mentioned too, Nubin getting a touchdown. I thought, again, Nubin and Phillips stacked, I thought, fairly decent back-to-back games for them as well, where they seem to be playing better in a Charlie Bullen defense. And also, after getting annihilated by Terry McLaurin a week before, pretty good week for Paulson Adebo, too. He had that interception, good hands, keeping his feet down. And there were moments I felt like he was all over the field. So ultimately, like you're seeing, at least on individual efforts, defensive players start to look better under Charlie Bullen. And like that's a very lowered bar, bare minimum thing. But yeah, and the most important, of course, obviously, is Abdul Carter.
Great news. Deontay Banks was still Deontay Banks.
Great kick returner.
Great kick. Awesome kick returner. Really rooting for him. Chauncey Golston, great game. 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack.
Which, by the way, that was almost an Abdul Carter sack, too. He let him into Golston.
That's the Chauncey Golston situation is a fascinating one to me because it's not necessarily a contract that like they're not that you can't move on from Chauncey Golston and like save a bunch of money.
No.
You know? So I don't know if he's a guy that's like worth keeping around or do you cut him just to get him out? But he's been largely not healthy for the majority of the year. And then even at points where he is healthy, he's behind like this depth chart of three other edge rushers. Where the last 3 weeks he's actually played more than 20 snaps. He had to play, I would think, at least 25 snaps in today's game, especially as Brian Burns was in and out at certain points.
And Kayvon's on IR.
They were putting Abdul Carter on the A gap, so even when Burns is on the field, then you're putting Chauncey Golston out there, and you kind of finally saw what I thought Chauncey Golston kind of can be, which is a really solid run defender and provide a little bit of upside as a pass rusher. So if he's
been missed in Dallas. Think about that.
Especially as a run defender. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Cowboy fans miss him, which is crazy, but he has not been that. And just, I know you had another point to finish. I know people kill that signing, and Joe Schoen has sucked with so much of his offseason stuff. I can't kill the signings. Remember, at the time they signed him in March, the draft had not happened yet. There weren't a lot of people thought Abdul Carter was getting past 2. So if the Giants didn't sign Abdul Carter, Chauncey Golston, we might be looking back, oh man, this was injury riddled, this was terrible. But there was a need for a Chauncey Golston before drafting Abdul Carter.
And regardless, their run defense was horrible, and they didn't necessarily have even with the front 3, I didn't look at any of them as like plus run defenders, and they needed somebody who was a good run defender. So I won't crush or kill that move. It's just kind of unfortunate, and there will be a new GM that will evaluate what Chauncey Golston's role is. I kind of hope that he sticks around because I think it's all a great problem to have when you have these solid players. So
yeah, and I hope the new GM just acknowledges, okay, we have this, we have that. What we don't have is a single freaking linebacker that can make a play both sideline to sideline or against the run, or decent enough defensive tackle depth. You hope Darius Alexander grows, but with no D tackles to speak of, and Dexter Lawrence again looks like he's not trying. No defensive tackles and 0 linebacker play. You could have all the pass rushes you want. You can have all the promising guys in the secondary. You're ultimately still going to suck as a defense.
I tried to specifically watch Dexter Lawrence at points. There are plays where it looks like he picks and chooses that he wants to try. Especially when the starting center for the Vikings goes out and you're up against a backup center. Why is Dexter Lawrence not kicking that guy's ass? Why is he getting driven off the ball? It legitimately looks like there are some plays where it looks like he wants to show up and he plays and he gets a tackle and it's like, all right, there's Dex. Cool. There was a point in the fourth quarter, Shaun. I don't know if you saw me tweet this out. I said, I will give $1,000 to somebody if Dexter Lawrence gets a sack this drive.
That is a bold thing to do. Now,
he actually came a little close.
Be careful on Venmo, dude. That would have got flagged real quick. You got to be careful. That Venmo.
Well, I was lying. I don't know if I actually would have given $1,000.
You can't. No, you would have had to do it.
But that's how confident. That's how confident I was that he was not going to do it.
He's been dominant for snaps, but no dominant games. And this was no different. There were like 1 or 2 moments because Jonathan Vilma couldn't stop glazing him. But other than that, just 0 impact plays. This should have been a game, you're exactly right, where he completely annihilated that Viking beat up offensive line. And again, there were spurts. You could notice him on plays. But think about the quarterbacks that played today. Did it ever feel like Dexter Lawrence was making their life that truly a living hell for 4 quarters? No. And that is not
gets double teamed.
No.
Yeah. He gets double teamed and he gets his ass kicked.
Right.
Like, I don't know, man.
I think, again, if I had to put my money down, my $1,000, my guess would be the next 2 games of the last 2 of Dexter Lawrence's Giants career. That's
if Joe Schoen's here, I think he's gone. If a new GM and a new vision comes in here, then I think there's a hold on, let's wait and see what happens here. There is going to need to be a discussion. That is without a doubt.
Yeah. I think Dexter Lawrence is going to be the one that leads that discussion, be honest with you.
He wants more money.
Yeah.
That's the guess. That's my guess. Brian Burns, 15 sacks on the season now, second in the NFL. Cool. Awesome.
Didn't want to shoot the spider webs too when he got the sack.
Well, good for him.
I forgot who got it might have been Chauncey Golston, went to do the spider web thing with him, and then Burns felt like he obligated to do it, which made me laugh because it felt like Burns was being humbled about the end of the year.
Injury news.
The anecdote.
Injury news, and then we'll get to Ben Sauls.
Yeah.
Kayvon Thibodeau to IR, and Andrew Thomas probably, especially the way that he was talking after the game, just big. We got to wait and see. We got to get an MRI. I'm sore. Andrew Thomas is probably done for the year. So those 2 players, Kayvon officially, and then Andrew Thomas, we'll wait and see what medical says on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, and it felt like Kayvon wanted to play, wanted to get back, and I don't blame him, right? He still wants to put more on tape as the guy tries to get paid. He's going to be going into this option year. So I understand that for him. Just really tough luck. Lost year. As far as Andrew Thomas goes, this to me was the most relieving hamstring injury I think I've ever seen a player have, because when he wasn't getting up, and of course, right, like the doomsday tweets from every Giant reporter in real time. Oh my God, Andrew Thomas is down, lower leg. You're thinking foot, ankle, Liz Frank. And I'm thinking to myself, this is exactly why you got to sign Jermaine Illuminor and not just assume that Marcus Mbow could play right tackle, because who the hell's going to play left tackle when Thomas gets hurt? When you find out it's a hamstring, honestly, Justin, it's a couple week injury. And that can happen to anybody when you're a hamstring. That is not something that's going to hamper him next year. And in the end, if your team tank, shutting down Andrew Thomas for his last 2 games to get that hamstring right, I mean, Andrew Thomas has nothing left to prove. That's probably a good thing, because the Giants don't win games often anyway. They definitely don't win games when Andrew Thomas doesn't play.
And I will be interested to see Marcus Mbow, flat out. There may be people in that building that view him as the answer. And I don't know about you. I see him get beat with strength time and time again. Does he look good? Does he move fast? Is he athletic as hell? Can he get out of his stance? And is that the way that he can win a lot of reps? Yes. Are there disaster plays like the sack that I don't know? Van Ginkel got the sack, but Van
Ginkel got that last sack. Won me a lot of money.
Good. But Dallas Turner was the one who kind of started it and set it up. And it was Dallas Turner kicking Marcus Mbow ass on a bull rush. That's going to happen, man. And that's been Marcus Mbow. I don't want to pick on Marcus Mbow in his rookie year as a day 3 pick. And this is the problem. This is the problem with bad football teams, and especially the way that the Giants, it doesn't matter what the GM is, who the GM is. This is what they've done with offensive linemen. We're going to take this day 3. Forget where they're picked. We're going to take this offensive lineman who's raw, who we know has issues, but because we drafted him, we just want to get him in there and play him. And then he's going to make bad, disastrous mistakes, that is exactly the opposite of what this offensive line has not done over the last 2 years, is have the bad, disastrous mistakes. Doesn't matter. There's a saying that I think everybody's father would say this, right? 1,000 attaboys and 1 shit. What do you get remembered for?
The shit.
That's exactly what Marcus Mbow is setting up his NFL career to be, where he's going to look great. Yeah. He's going to be athletic. He's going to be fast. He's going to get out of his stance, like I said. But then there's going to be plays where he is going to get beat with strength because he is not a strong football player. And then that's what you get remembered for. And that opportunity where the Giants had, hey, they were driving down the field, having an opportunity to tie the game, win the game, whatever. That's on Marcus Mbow.
Yep. Totally implodes. Now, look, he's somebody that I expect to get better within a pro system of coaching and the pro weight room in terms of the strength issue. And we have seen far worse tackles in their rookie year come in and look like they can't play. Bo at least looks like he's in the right spots, the right play, but it's just a strength issue. So,
but how many times have we said that about linemen in their rookie year, Shaun? Like, oh yeah, well,
we said about Andrew Thomas earlier.
They just got to get a little bit better. Evan Neal just has to improve his stance.
But Evan Neal never put up the good enough tape that Bo already has. To be fair, he hasn't. I mean, and honestly, Justin, go back to the beginning of the year when James Hudson's taking those reps at left tackle. It looked infinitely worse, and he's been a pro forever than what Marcus Bow has looked like at left tackle.
Yeah, even camp, Marcus Bow looked better than James Hudson.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I want to set Marcus Bow up for success, and I think the way that you set him up for success is let him be the damn swing tackle, and that's a valuable role. That's not diminishing.
And you will play. You will play.
Yes, especially with Andrew Thomas, and you never know. You could snap a finger and you could be in. So set him up for success. Give him 2 more years. If you re-sign Jermaine Illuminor, you're going to sign Jermaine Illuminor to a 3-year deal, and that's actually going to be 2 years. That's how free agency and extensions work, especially for guys on the plus side of 30. He's going to play 2 years. Marcus Bow will be in year 3/year 4, and I feel good. I feel good about that. And if Marcus Bow is good enough, he will find a spot to play, even if that's guard, even if that's on the interior, which I do not think he has the strength to. If you don't have the strength at tackle, then I especially don't think you're going to have the strength on the interior to keep up with guys that are much heavier. But neither here nor there.
Hardy har. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Kayvon to IR. You have any glaring?
No, the only thing I would say, and this is just more like the 50th log or piece of kindling on the Joe Schoen fire in roster management would be this. Why the hell didn't he free up a roster spot and go to IR weeks ago? Why? I mean, it's a minimum of 4 weeks he would have missed. Why wasn't he put on IR 4 weeks ago? I don't get that. It's just a waste, but whatever. Like small potatoes, used to the team not being able to figure out how to manage their roster.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna pull up the Talking Giants tweet because I want to get it right. You see,
I'll say this: and I still am team like sign Kayvon. I don't know how any team is breaking the bank for Kayvon at the end of the year, and I wonder if we could actually, for once, with a new general manager, be proactive on an extension that, like, if he goes out next year and has this unbelievable year with a new coaching staff and a new defensive coordinator, what do you think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to cost you in 2026 to try to retain? Maybe use this to your advantage if you're the Giants and get him to sign low now. Like, would that?
I don't even know if he would agree to that though, Shaun. Like if you're Kayvon Thibodeau and you're business savvy and you know your worth and stuff like that.
But what's his worth, Justin? Because he goes out there and plays 1 year on the 1 year deal and gets hurt again. Then what the hell is he getting? Then he's getting a 1 year deal after that.
I floated out at the tailgate today 3 for 45 or 3 for 50. No, 3 for 50, which is less than 20, 15, 34, but more than 15. And people were saying that he probably would want something 3 for 60.
I mean, how much guaranteed are we talking? You're talking all that guaranteed?
Right. And then you get into the semantics of years and guaranteed money and blah, 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 blah. But you even just look at the face value of $15 million per year, or even a little north, 16, 17 million per year.
And remember,
he probably views himself as a $20 million plus player, which is why I think he would be willing to actually play on that 5th year option and then see what he's worth.
Okay. Well, if he's playing on the 5th year option, my guess is he's not here beyond next year. But maybe most Giant fans would like that. So
he ends the year with 2.5 sacks in 10 games. He has 8 sacks over the last 2 seasons, and he's played in 22 games over the last 2 seasons. But ironically enough, like I do view, even though 2023 he got all the sacks, I do view 2024 as a better season than 2023, and even 2025. Like, especially Kayvon as an overall complete player, I think was better this year than any other year. I thought he showed a tenacity in the run game. He was better overall as a better run defender this year. Like I saw a Kayvon Thibodeau at times in the early part of the year as a player that was playing with his hair on fire, and that was cool. But if you're an edge rusher and you want money, you got to get sacks, and he hasn't done that since 2023. So,
good times.
All right, one more thing. I guess we'll talk about Ben Sauls and then Joe Schoen. But first, we got to talk about DraftKings. Holiday football has arrived with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner in the NFL. The unexpected could turn game day into payday. Don't forget, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player goes down in the first half, you could still get paid in cash. Here's the best part. New customers bet $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code JAMFootball. That's code JAMFootball. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. So Ben Sauls, huh? Better call Sauls.
Better call Sauls. Saul's good, man.
Better call.
What the hell just happened?
I just threw a blitz ball in the air and then I hit my head. Better call Sauls Goodman.
Better call Sauls Goodman. Okay. So Justin, Saturday night we saw a pretty epic Bears-Packers game. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but we all saw a pretty epic Bears-Packers game. And I thought the coolest part of Bears-Packers, again, we don't like talking special teams as much on this podcast. I get that. Was Cairo Santos being the Bears kicker in Chicago, windy weather, windy city, whatever, and doing like the wiffle ball thing, kicking the ball in the one direction where the wind is blowing so that the wind can take it and kind of hook it into the post. And he did it a couple times, including late in that game. I was mesmerized by this Saturday night. So when Ben Sauls lined up after, as you mentioned, screwed up that opening kickoff,
he was nervous.
And he was nervous.
He was nervous, Shaun.
It was not as windy as Chicago was last night, or on Saturday night. But those flags blowing, Ben Sauls did that. He bent the kick. And we talked about this last week when we did the preview pod, the idea of him kicking in Pitt, and you brought up the 50-yarders he had and how that's not an easy stadium to kick field goals in. Ben Sauls looked like now we didn't see him kicking from 60 today. I understand all that, but Ben Sauls looked like he at least understood the assignment as a cold weather, windy stadium kicker today, and those two kicks and playing the wind a little bit and bending it to have it knuckle back in. I was mesmerized by it, and I want to see more Ben Sauls good, man.
I'm sold.
You're sold. That's it. You're in no matter what.
Now he gets a dome next week.
He gets a dome next week. But again, this is the kind of kicker that should be on the Giant roster next year. They should stop trying to get kickers that are at the end of their career. Just do like you have a young team. Let's groom a young kicker up at the same time. If you want to find another one in the back end of the draft or rookie free agency this year, fine. Competition, fine. But Ben Sauls should be in camp with this team next year because that's the exact kind of kicker the Giants should be investing in. Throwing, the term throwing a dart doesn't mean Jaxson Dart. Throwing a dart at young kickers. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. This offseason, I am making it a priority to look at kickers in the draft.
You can't believe you're saying it. We should have been saying it for 3 years.
Yeah. Burned. Well, guess what? I'm not paid millions of dollars to run a football team. So
that's a fair point.
I'm gonna watch and I'm gonna look at what I want to look at. But now, guess what? I want to look at kickers. So
yeah, I'm tired of losing games because of kickers. Can't leave
even the Senior Bowl. I'm going down Senior Bowl. I'm just watching kickers.
Think about this today. The New York Giants lost a football game where we walk away feeling fine with the defensive effort and fine with the place kicking situation and then lose. Still, that's Giants football in 2025. Now they get that right today and they still lose a game.
I feel like I'm back in 2020.
Yeah.
Touchdown Ravens. All right. One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't mentioned Joe Schoen all that much. Very, very proud of myself at times. And now I get to certain points of the show where I feel like I haven't talked about my hatred for the front office enough. So, Shaun, I'm convinced that Joe Schoen's fired. Are you convinced that Joe Schoen's fired?
I'm not, but I lean that he is. I'm not convinced.
I am convinced.
Okay.
Partially for my own mental health, I think, at this point, for the next couple of weeks. I'm convinced. I think the Commanders was like the official, not that this is the way that it should be. I'm trying to think of the way that it actually is in that fucked up building. I thought the Commanders loss and the way that you lost against the Commanders was like the official nail in the coffin, because you can't just say that you played good teams tough and you played good teams close, because now they're starting to lose and they're starting to get their ass kicked against bad teams, right?
Yeah.
I heard on the postgame show, which I haven't listened to the postgame show a lot, 101.9 at WFAN. Hey, Shaun Morash knows that station.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the station, yes.
The tea leaves. You can get tea leaves based, and everybody, if you're a longtime listener to this show, and if you're a diehard fan that follows, this show, that show, this avenue, you know this. You can get tea leaves on what's going inside that Giants building by how Bob Papa and Carl Banks talk about the team. If Carl Banks is starting to talk about what's his name? Oh my God, Tay Crowder. If Carl Banks is starting to talk about how Tay Crowder is not that good and he's I think I'm worried about this guy. This guy's not that good. He's probably gonna get cut the next day. Lo and behold, Tay Crowder was cut the next day. I heard Bob Papa driving home talk about the lack of pieces on this Giants team. And he was comparing it to, this isn't like Eli Manning in 2004. Even though today's game against the Vikings felt like Eli Manning versus the Ravens in 2004, where both of those guys had a quarterback rating of 0, right?
It did.
He said, do you want to know the difference? He started off by talking about Tom Coughlin. Yeah, Tom Coughlin. So I thought he was going to go in the direction of, all right, well, the Giants just need a coach. He went a little further. He said, the Giants don't have a Jeremy Shockey. The Giants don't have a Tiki Barber. The Giants don't have, he even mentioned Ike Hilliard. The Giants don't have an Ike Hilliard. The Giants don't have a, like this offensive line that is such kick-ass. He talked about all facets and all levels of the offense and talked about the lack of pieces on this offense. And it only really took a clarifying point by John Schmelk to mention Cam Scatterbo. No mention of Malik Neighbors. No mention of the injury to Malik Neighbors. No mention to the injury, no overtly mentioned by Bob Papa, the injury to Cam Scatterbo, and that being a reason why there are no pieces or a lack of pieces, at least right now. That was a full-on indictment, in my opinion, of Joe Schoen's roster. And I do not think Bob Papa is saying that for no reason. If he clarified, if he went on to clarify, Shaun, and say, well, and if he just stuck it with Tom Coughlin and say, well, they don't have Tom Coughlin, this team needs to find their Tom Coughlin, then I think, all right, well, then it's just the coaching. That wasn't just coaching.
Yeah. I mean, look, and I'm with you on Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors. The team should have more than that by now. And they just went out and they reinvested in Darius Slayton, who continues to drop footballs. They sold us, and I still like the promise of Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson's the one who's responsible for the interception, ain't the first time this year where Theo Johnson can't hang on the footballs. Oh, yeah. Everything, all of these pieces, you want to give Joe Schoen credit for Neighbors, you want to give Joe Schoen credit for Scatterbo, okay. Well, what about everything else around them? They can't overcome an injury to a running back they found on day 3 this year, and their number 1 slam dunk wide receiver that anybody could have drafted a year ago, and they have no solution behind those guys. That is an indictment, and we can't enter year 5 with a general manager who managed to put that together on offense. What the Giants are running out there, having to bring Isaiah Hodgins back off the Steelers practice squad because and continuing to roster Jalen Hyatt and Gunnar Olszewski's coming in for plays. That is not the war of attrition of a long NFL year of injuries. That's a war of garbage that you have put together in terms of depth. So Justin, I pray that you're right. But again, part of the reason I'm not 100% confident that he's fired is the same reason that I wouldn't be 100% confident in the new general manager coming in. Look, for better or for worse, the Giants are a family-run organization, okay? And I'm sure that's great for all those people that work there. But if Joe Schoen gets fired, who the hell is taking his job? And is this going to be just another promotion from within? Because there's no way in hell they're clearing out the room of a lot of those scouts or a lot of the executives next to him when many, or many's probably a strong word, but you know what I mean? Quite a few have ties to, dare I say, strong ties to the actual family that runs the organization. And you can't fire family members, or I guess you could, but they won't. So what the hell changes if you fire Joe Schoen, if you just keep the same room around him?
Still not a good enough reason to keep status quo. And I know that's not what you're saying.
It's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's more of my, he should be fired, but I have no confidence that anything's going to truly change regardless.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Well, we just need to find somebody good enough to rise above that, Shaun.
I know.
We just need to find somebody good enough to rise above what's now approaching 15, 20 years of nepotism and bullshit.
Yep. And by the way, all of those holes, Justin, all of those holes we talk about, and we mentioned linebacker and D-tackle earlier, now we're talking about the lack of weapons around them. All of that is why it is actually that important for the Giants to find a way to get the number 1 overall pick and trade the hell out of it and get as many assets as possible.
Fire Joe Schoen tomorrow. Stop with, and I said the same thing last week. Stop with the. You won't need to call anybody behind people's backs. You won't need to sneak in like, oh, what do you think this guy may be interested? What do you think that if we do this hypothetically, who do you think may be interested? There's no need to have that quiet conversation with him down the hall.
The ultimate family organization is now not going to fire the general manager 2 days before Christmas. Not going to happen. I mean, you can make all
that previously. You said that previously about something else.
Thanksgiving, and they didn't.
Oh, they didn't. I thought they did.
Did they? Did they fire Dable the week of Thanksgiving?
It was around there.
Maybe it was. Or was it right after?
You said they're not going to do it. I think they did.
Did they? Did they? I'm going to get caught with egg in my face. Watch. I don't want to look at my tweets after this if that's when Dable got fired was Thanksgiving week.
Find out next time. Giants had how many passing yards did they have today? This is the final thing I want to say. Because our great producer, Jeff, actually did good work on pulling this up for me. Giants had 33 passing yards today. I had Jeff pull up the most recent November 13th. Dable was fired.
November 13th?
Yes.
So that's well before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you thinking of Bowen?
Maybe Bowen.
I think we were talking about Bowen.
He was fired that early? November 13th? Wow. Yeah.
It's been over a month.
I'm clean, baby.
Giants 33 passing yards today. I had Jeff pull up. I wanted to know the last time that the Giants had these ultra bad passing days. Tommy DeVito had 86 against the Cowboys in 2023. Probably Thanksgiving. Bowen fired the 24th of November.
That was Thanksgiving week.
That was Thanksgiving. There you go. Daniel Jones had 99 versus the Eagles in 2024. Versus the Jets, they had Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor combined for 7 total yards.
I was at that game. They refused to let DeVito throw the entire second half.
I was also there. And then Mike Glennon had 24 yards against the Bears in the 2021-2022 season.
Guys, we understand that we're looking all of this up, and this was all very much post the forward pass being invented, and we've lived all these games. We've podcasted through most of these games. That's incredible.
Justin, who cares? I do. All right, that's a show. Thanks for everybody watching.
What a note to end on. What a note to end.
That's what Mr. Rumsfeld said on Twitter. Justin, who cares? I do. I like numbers. All right, that's a show. We'll see you in the middle of the week. Let's go Giants.